We've been here about 13 years. We didn't have a lot of agricultural experience when we started. My husband had interned on another organic farm in the area and he really enjoyed it. And I had finished school, but I was having trouble finding a job. After a lot of looking for a job, my husband said, well, why don't we? And we met someone who had recently purchased this property. We started very small. You know, our very first area when we started was probably about the size of a home garden. And sometimes you just need like a little unexpected motivation when you first get started to see the potential, I guess. So we're like, oh wow, that did better than we expected and we're really well received. And so we just grew it a little bit by bit each year. And what we didn't know, we would go to conferences in the winter. We would read a little bit. My husband would watch YouTube videos, and we would visit a lot of other farms. We only ever invested, I guess, the money that we made. So it never felt like there was a big, heavy risk that we had to overextend ourselves. Started by selling produce at the Blacksburg Farmers Market with a real small stand, just like one table. And we sold there for 8 years. And at the same time, we were also had a small farm stand out here. And we also, in one of those first years, we had a small farm share or CSA. Yeah, it's when people sign up at the beginning of the year and they pay at the beginning of the year. And then when the season starts, we provide produce for each week of the season. And we have different versions of that. We have a produce one that runs during the main season. We also have a winter veggie one. We have a meat one, which is kind of like a 1 month. We put together a bundle for people. We've got a couple different options, which is maybe part of why ours is pretty attractive to people, is that when they come pick up at the farm, they have like a weekly amount of points and they can pick out what they want up to those points, or they can get a pre-packed CSA box. And we're very flexible in that if they can't make it 1 week, they can make up those points on another week, so it's not like they really lost them. In the winter, we have 2 separate farm shares. We have one for meats and we have one for produce. But sometimes in the winter, we blend them a little bit. We say, okay, you signed up for the veggie share, but if you want, you can use your points for eggs. Or if you want, here's like a select varieties of sausage that you can use your points on. So it's not quite as open-ended, but we like to give those opportunities where some of the vegetable customers can at least try. The CSA is wonderful because the customers are signing up and paying during the off-season, which is when a lot of our expenses are. But aside from that, like the CSA members, when they sign up, they're kind of committing to come every week. So they get a little more vested and engaged in the farm, and it's a bit of a deeper connection to make a lasting relationship. Our second year, we started with some broilers. We got a small number of broilers, and we started adding in other animals as we went. We added in laying ducks, and then we added in Thanksgiving turkeys and meat ducks and laying hens, and then we've also done pork the past 5 years too. As our farm grew and we needed to use more areas for growing vegetables, we started having to layer the animals with the fields that we would use for production. So my husband, he'll grow a lot of cover crops, and then usually we'll follow with poultry, turkeys or broilers or ducks, and then he might mulch or otherwise prep and then crop another year. And we do that in different sequences throughout the year in different pieces, and different birds are good for different things. Like the broilers, they don't necessarily travel very much. They kind of go where their house is, but the turkeys will be great in that they'll really spread and eat a lot of stuff down and poop all over the field. And they're with us longer in the seasons.
So the way our animals kind of integrate to our intensive area is we have like a permanent house with like day range, like a wagon wheel. We're adding deep bedding, which we'll call several feet. And then twice a year, we'll be scooping that wood chip manure mix out and then cutting that with old leaves to make a rough compost. And that gets applied in the tunnels and then in this area. So we're doing about 1,000 yards a year in this 1.5 acre field. So we're putting on thick.
You know, we definitely are getting a keener eye for soil erosion and really trying to keep the soil covered as much as we can. We do that with a lot of mulches and cover crops or leaving crop residue in place until we really have to turn it over. Some of the animals like the pigs, we can run them through areas that are fully covered, you know, so we have some forest areas or some other scrub areas that, you know, we don't have to disturb the soil at all. So that is another thing we do to protect the soil here. I worked with water a little bit and I know that things can leach through, but I don't understand necessarily a lot of the chemicals and pesticides. I think because I don't understand a lot about the interactions with a lot of the chemicals, I just say, well, let's just not use them. And then I don't have to worry about it or try to rationalize. I'm okay saying, I don't know, so let's just not do it.
So no-till is, somebody said it once, this is our version of no-till, right? Because everyone's got their own version of no-till, whether it's a chemical application, an herbicide, right? Is it surface tillage? What do? We broad fork, we add compost, rough compost, it's not sifted, just real chunky compost, and then we direct seed into it. So our biggest issue is that capillary action to get the moisture up. So we might have to water a little bit heavier for the direct seeded crops. But we're typically not really weeding, which is great. So it's like a surface tillage with like a rake or a wheel hoe. You know, we'll bring a tractor in if we have to, if we get way behind, but typically not, you know, and then soils kind of stay loose. They might feel firm to the, you know, but you drive an irrigation stake right in the ground, you know, the plant roots are whatever, 250 PSI of strength. So that's, you know, I'm not doing that with the irrigation stake. So as soils get softer and deeper, good like, you know, texture, I guess, whatever that's called. So the tunnels are a big part of our operation. We sell products 12 months a year, fresh stuff. We do plenty of storage crops to complement it, but the tunnels allow us to grow greens all winter. About a third of our tunnels are heated with propane, and the rest are just unheated. They also allow us to get a big jump start on summer stuff. And I think one of the biggest benefits is we don't have to push the outdoor product too early in the spring. So we don't have to push it too hard in March outside, mess with row covers, and constantly the labor on that. We're able to just grow longer in the spring in these tunnels and wait till things are a little warmer outside. And then the yield is so much cleaner and higher inside of tunnels. So each tunnel is usually a jump start on the season, and then again, a follow through the season. Is there a difference between a greenhouse and a high tunnel? Probably, depending on who you talk to. The way I define it is a greenhouse is heated and a high tunnel is unheated. To be honest, we built the first 8 tunnels just on our own funding because they're economical. It's a no-brainer. Even if you didn't get the funding, I think you should still put one up if you put the energy into the soil where it can grow nice crops. But having the NRCS with the funding just makes it an easy no-brainer. I think we're up to giving like 20,000-ish to a tunnel. It used to be 5 to 10. And that pays for a really nice greenhouse. So instead of us building a cheap one, you know, making it work, buying used tunnels, we're able to buy new tunnels, which are like putting together Legos, really easy. So it's all clean, it's what we want. It's designed for tomato production. So these are designed for tomato production, the way we build them. Okay. There's other goals. If your goals are just greens, they can be smaller and lower, you know, but these are designed to hold trellises and things like that.
Each year has posed its own challenges with weather, and maybe it's because we're in Blacksburg and against the mountain. We haven't been here long enough to say, oh, it's changed, or something has been lost, or is somewhat very different, because we haven't been that long. But we do know that every year is very different from the one before. So we've just planned for, if you can say that, variability, and like how can we buffer if there is an unexpected change, in seeing that that might be a bigger problem in the future, especially as we're growing and using more water usage. The past couple years we put the effort in and we actually did get a pond installed to hopefully store some more water and not be so dependent on those wells. Planning for high winds and trying to get more windbreaks in, and planning for water loss, and getting more ways to store water, because we definitely need water. We get a lot of organic matter, which we can use as mulch. Like, we've invested in spreaders and things like that so that we can mulch a lot of crops, and that also helps hold in water. I think our customers have been the best in encouraging us along the way, showing what they want, you know, in one way or another, either telling us or, you know, supporting our business and coming back and coming back. I think they have been our main inspiration, and I think our staff has been also very inspirational. When we had our kids, that was a big jump for us about why healthy food is so important. You know, it's not just for us, it's really important to raise these kids with the healthiest stuff we can. COVID was very interesting because there was a lot more focus on healthy food. So when COVID happened, we saw a burst of growth and support and encouragement as a small business. We started a farm stand and kids activities, but we had to shut all that down. And we developed like an online ordering form, and people are not used to ordering produce online. So that was just a big, like, can we figure out how to do this? And we were probably the first in the area to develop like an online order form for a farm. So now we really put a lot of effort into our farm store here and trying to make the customers have a good experience by just being here, you know, having part of the reward of making the trek just being that you're not in a grocery store and you can see the farm and you can get fresh air aside from the stuff that you can pick up. Advice I would give to someone would be to try and maybe start small. Maybe start by working on another farm and get some experience. Although I didn't work on another farm, it probably comes down to being willing to learn from your mistakes, or at least what's going on, maybe not necessarily mistakes. So being open to growth and to failing, and still wanting to keep going. Like, ask yourself, how much am I willing to lose? Am I willing to lose many years? Am I willing to lose a lot of money? Am I willing to get an injury, or for my family to not support me? And if you still want to do it, then you should. You don't have had to have had agricultural experience to get into agriculture. And maybe by not having somebody's beliefs before you presenting themselves, you are more open to see what is possible. We probably wouldn't have gone in the direction that we've gone if we had grown up on farms. As far as our mission and vision, I think it starts with just being selfish. Like, my husband and I, we just really want to be outside ourselves, you know, and we like mostly to work together, and we really want our kids to be outside a lot. So this profession allows us to really make ourselves happy.
Farming is pretty interesting because you're kind of doing everything. So I like to say I kind of grew up on like a construction site. So it's plumbing, it's electrical, it's building, it's tools, using tools. What I didn't really grow up doing was touching plants. And it turns out that with our system, I don't have to touch plants that much. I just have to kind of set the carpet, and then they just kind of do their own thing. And that works out well for me because I like doing all the other stuff. I like running machines and equipment and making compost and applying that. I like touching plants too, but we don't spend a lot of time working with plants. I mean, we're hiring out all like the harvest to our great people. We kind of enjoy it for our own sake, and we really just try to go for the high quality, you know, not just the economics.
Now that we're in it, and especially we see the customers that we attract, and some have very specific health issues and they will come from very far to get clean food, it has definitely grown our appreciation for producing clean food. The public might be getting more keyed into how different this food is compared to the food at the grocery store. I think the farmers, the business owners kind of need to offer and present and engage and grow with where the customers are at and grow together, I guess, to be a lasting relationship.